Good morning. It is 7:01 a.m. on Friday, August 6th, 2021. I'm Christiana Ellis, and I just got up. This is 5 more minutes. So, I guess I've allowed myself to get more sleep deprived than I had even realized by just trying to force getting up earlier without really going to bed earlier. Because last night after work, I just sort of said, I'm feeling a little sleepy. Maybe I'll just rest my eyes. And then just immediately, I decided to take a nap without, setting a timer for myself. And just woke up 2 hours later feeling just very bleary eyed and altered. just So I spent all evening last night and then went to bed early-ish and then slept all night last night, and now I've woken up and I still just feel kind of still half asleep in my brain. Uh, yeah, yeah. So that's not optimal. I will tell you though that it was a fairly good experience. It produced a fairly good experience watching The Big Lebowski last night. For by sheer coincidence, for watching 100 movies, Mike and I decided to have the category be comedies and then narrow it down to old reliables, meaning like a movie that you can always go back and rewatch. You can rewatch it over and over, and it just stays funny. And by sheer coincidence, we both picked movies that start with the word big. Weird. So Mike actually suggested The Big Lebowski, which I also love, and I suggested Big Trouble in Little China. But so last night I rewatched The Big Lebowski, which I love it. But one of the things that I also always think about it every time I do think about it is that it is a perfect example in my mind. It is the preeminent example in my mind of a movie that improves on repeat viewing, because it's such a perfect illustration of a movie where the plot is not the point, but it presents the plot in such a way as to feel like it is the point for a while until you realize that it isn't. Because it's framed really like a mystery. Structurally, it's very much like a private detective story, Raymond Chandler, just and all that. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if the title does come from The Big Sleep, which is a Philip Marlowe, Humphrey Bogart movie based on Raymond Chandler book. But yeah, I mean, it's telling like it's a detective story, but just kind of tweaking it where the detective, instead of being a standard detective, is instead the dude. But where was I going with that? Oh, just the point that like it's framed like a mystery, and so when you're watching it for the first time, you assume that the mystery is more important than it actually is, and so I think you're focused on that and trying to figure it out, and ultimately, like that's not where the movie offers its real joys. In that, because the mystery is ultimately kind of silly, and nobody really knows what they're doing, and it's all a bunch of confused people just trying to figure out what the other confused people are doing, and because nobody's really any good at what they're doing, it's all kind of just a mess. Now, it's like in the abstract, it's a carefully constructed mess, but the point is that solving the mystery is not an exercise in a bunch of clever people outthinking each other. It's more a matter of everybody's just doing their own thing. But so the movie's real joy is in the journey along the way, and it is on repeat viewings when you know that the mystery is silly, that you can just enjoy the ride, and that's where the movie just really comes alive. And The editing, especially for dialogue, is so good in that. Because like the dialogue is good and like, but the performances and the timing and the pacing of the dialogue, especially when you have multiple characters talking over each other, is just incredible. Like especially like all of the scenes with the dude and Walter and Donnie, where the dude and Walter each have a very distinctive voice in the way they speak, and they're having an argument, and it just keeps escalating because Donnie keeps punctuating it by not really following the conversation but wanting to participate anyway. Love it. So, in any case, I'm going to leave it there, and I'll talk to you all tomorrow for 5 more minutes.